Hi there, Shannon here with Genesis Balance. If you're new to my channel, welcome, and if you've been here before, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about my 5 favorite tips on how to hack your depression. So stay tuned because these 5 tips are going to help you live your best life. So, 5 tips to hack your depression. Now, when I say hack your depression, I am talking about really more along the lines of if you're having kind of an off day, you're not really feeling like yourself, you're feeling kind of down, blue, that sort of thing. I'm not talking about using these tips, primarily using these tips for if you have like a major depressive diagnosis and you're having a depressive episode. I am not talking about using these tips if you are having thoughts of harming yourself or harming someone else. That is something completely different. And this is really just for if you're just feeling kind of down and blue, how to kind of give yourself a pick me up and raise and elevate your mood. If you do suffer from major depressive disorder or a diagnosis that causes depressive symptoms, you kind of know whether or not this is, just one of those days where I'm feeling a little off versus whether or not this is going to be something a bit more intense, a bit more serious. So, like I said, this is for those of us that sometimes just aren't feeling like ourselves, feeling a little down. What do I do to kind of pick myself back up? So, tip number 1 that I have is dress to impress. And what do I mean by dress to impress? One of the things that I've noticed we tend to do when we're feeling kind of down is we kind of dress the way that we feel. And when we dress, when we put effort into the way that we're dressed and we feel good about the way that we look, we feel good. We feel good about ourselves. So if you wake up in the morning and you're feeling kind of blah and down, and it's just one of those days where you wake up and you're just like, yeah, is today really necessary? I'm not really feeling it. I got up, I had a cup of coffee. I really feel like I've done enough for the day. And what you want to do is just throw on some sweats and an old t-shirt. What I would encourage you to do is put a little bit more effort into your appearance. Because like I said, when we look good, we tend to feel good. So on those days where I know I'm feeling kind of down and blah, I was actually having one of those days today where I was just like, I don't feel necessarily depressed, but I don't feel like myself. I don't feel good. So I got up, I got dressed, I did something to my hair, I put on some makeup, and by the time I finished my routine, I started feeling better. So dress to impress is kind of like dress for the job that you want. This is dress for the mood that you want to be in. So dress to impress. So tip number 2, another one of my favorites, is please don't stop the music. So music has a very profound effect on us and on our emotions and our mood. That's why so much work goes into the score and composition of movies. They put so much time and effort into either writing music for the movie or picking the right songs for those particular scenes, because they know that music impacts our mood, it impacts our emotions. So if it's a really sad scene, they will probably play something that invokes those emotions in us so that we connect more with the characters. So we can actually use that exact same principle in our own lives when we're feeling down. What I personally always do is every year, I know at least every year, but every year since I've been in undergrad, college, I always had a playlist for what I was listening to for that year. Now that serves 2 purposes for me. One is kind of almost like a musical diary, if you will, a musical journal of the kind of things that I liked during that time in my life. And I still have most of those playlists either on CDs, I'm telling my age now, or, downloaded to my computer or on my phone or what have you. But the other great thing about the playlist is that it's a list of songs that make me feel good. They put me in a good mood. They bring kind of an upbeat vibe to my life. They raise my vibrations. They are songs of, from artists that I love. And it's very difficult for our minds to rationalize feeling down, depressed, sad, or blue while listening to something that makes us feel happy, upbeat, and joyful. So it's very difficult for our mind to kind of deal with those contradicting sensations. And so the more that you listen to the playlist, especially when you're feeling down, the more the playlist is going to win out. And you'll start to notice that your mood is starting to improve and you're starting to feel better. Trust me, I know that it sounds like it's almost too simple, but I give this assignment to clients as part of their self-care plan. Pretty much every client I have, and they feel the same way. There's no way this is going to work. But then they come back in and they say, Shannon, I listened to my playlist and you were right, it worked. So let's just skip all of the doubting me on whether or not just listening to a good playlist is going to help and jump right to I listen to the playlist and I feel better. So number 3 on my list is laughter is the best medicine. So just like with the music, where it's very difficult for our mind to kind of reconcile feeling down and depressed with listening to music that makes me happy. It's the same thing with laughter. So if I'm feeling down or blue or depressed and I turn on, one of my favorite comedy sitcoms, it's going to be very difficult if I am genuinely involved in watching the show, if I'm genuinely laughing at the show. It's going to be very difficult for me to continue to feel bad, down, blue, not myself. So if I am in that kind of state of mind, one of the things that I will tend to do is I'll either turn on maybe the comedy channel. I may go and stream a stand-up comedy show that I have either never seen or it's been a while since I've seen, something that I know is going to make me laugh genuinely, and that is going to elevate my mood. So whatever that is for you, if it's a show, a movie, if it's picking up the phone and calling your friend that is always wisecracking and always making you laugh, then that's what I want you to do when you start to feel down and depressed, because laughter really is the best medicine. So tip number 4 on how to hack your depression is reading is fundamental. So when we read, especially if you're reading like a fiction novel or fantasy or something along those lines, one of the things that we can tend to do is, if it's a good enough book, we can kind of get absorbed into the storyline and kind of almost live vicariously through that other character. So for at least a spell of time, we get to kind of forget about what's going on with us, about what's causing us to feel down, about why we started feeling blue in the first place, about whatever's going on in our lives. And we get to kind of experience a different life or a different lifestyle, or maybe sometimes even an entirely different world, where our mind kind of gets carried away and you can get lost in the pages. So for me, I personally like romance novels. I like fantasy. Put them together, my favorite genre is probably fantasy romance novels. So I know that I have a book series that I can go to whenever I'm starting to feel down. I can pick it up and I can read it, or I can turn on my Audible and I can listen to the story, and I can get lost in those characters. And by the time I'm done reading or listening to that story for the day or for that spell of time, I am feeling better. I am feeling a lot lighter and just more myself, because whatever was causing me to feel down, I essentially forgot about it. And I was living vicariously through the characters of the story, at least for a little while. So Number 5, the last tip that I have on how to hack your depression is call a timeout. Sometimes we just need a break. Sometimes we just need a moment. It is very difficult to engage with people and interact with people when we're not feeling like ourselves, when we're feeling a little bit down, when we're feeling a little bit depressed. It is okay for you to step away from whatever situation you're in, if at all possible, and say, you know what, I need to take a moment and just focus on me and breathe. I need a few minutes to not engage in this, walk away, take that time out, come back and, continue on with whatever it is that you were doing. So, for instance, if you're not really feeling like yourself and you're at home with your spouse and everything that they say or do at that moment is kind of grating on your nerves, then you're probably not feeling like yourself. You may be feeling a little bit depressed. You may be feeling a little bit down. And if you try to interact with your spouse during that present moment in time, it may very well cause an argument or a fight or whatever. It very well may hurt your relationship because you are just not in the mental state and capacity to actually engage with your spouse. And that goes for work relationships. It goes for relationships with our children. It goes for relationships with our friends. If we are trying to interact with someone during a time where we don't even feel like ourselves, it's not really fair to yourself or the other person, because they're not interacting with who they think they're interacting with, because you're not really feeling like yourself at that time. So it's perfectly okay to just say, hey, I need a few moments. I need to collect my thoughts. I need to get myself together and walk away. I understand and realize that there are times where that is not necessarily possible. I understand that if you are in a meeting with your boss and, something has gone awry and you're having trouble dealing with it, that it may not be feasible to tell your boss, you know what, I'm not really feeling like myself. Let me just, take 15 minutes and walk away. I do get that. But when we have the control, we need to take the control. So while I understand that it's not always possible, whenever it is feasible or possible to do so, call that time out. Let them know, hey, you know what, I need X amount of time and I'll come back to this situation. Or sometimes it doesn't even have to be a volatile situation. You just want to be left alone. And that is perfectly okay. Sometimes you just don't want to be bothered, and it is perfectly normal to feel that way. And it's fine for you to say, hey, I just need, let me go upstairs for an hour. You stay down here. I'm just going to go chill out and relax and focus on something else for a little while. So, how to hack your depression, my 5 favorite tips. Number 1 is dress to impress. Number 2, please don't stop the music. Number 3, laughter is the best medicine. Number 4, reading is fundamental. And number 5 is call a timeout. So I hope these tips helped. If you're ever feeling blue or down or just not like yourself, I hope that you kind of remember those tips and draw on them and go back to them and use them. If this video has helped you, please let me know by giving me a thumbs up. If you are new to the channel and you have not yet hit that subscribe button, please do so now. And don't forget to click the bell for notifications, because my goal is to continue to pump out as much content as I possibly can that will actually be beneficial to you and that you can use in your everyday life. So until next time, I hope that you use these tips whenever you need to, and I hope that you really enjoyed this content. So until next time, here's to you living your best life.